Hey everybody, Rachel here from Rachthestamper.com, and today we're going to make a really pretty silhouette card using the Enjoy the Moment stamp set. You may recently have seen me create these really pretty cards. I just made this one live. This was my sample that I started with, and we were talking about creating things with silhouettes. Now this is a reverse silhouette card, in my opinion. The stamp is anyway. So I thought we could do one with Enjoy the Moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a Night of Navy base. And then we have a piece of thick basic white. This is actually, I believe this is 3 3/4. Let me just make sure. I think that's what I did. 3 3/4 by 5.5 for this, because I wasn't going to put a back layer. So you'll see what we're going to do with that. This is going to be our color palette. So we have Daffodil Delight, Mango Melody, Flirty Flamingo, Balmy Blue, and then instead of Night of Navy, I went with Pacific Point. So what we're going to do today is we're actually going to start with some blending brushes. So I have a brush. I'm just going to test this out on my previous paper. I like to try to conserve my paper if possible. So this is pretty orangey, but I'm going to go to yellow, and it's going to be okay. I'm not really worried about it because they're still kind of in the same color family. So I'm going to start with Daffodil Delight, and what I'm going to attempt to do is to not get it inky. So I'm going to use this little flap to kind of hold my card in place, because I'm going to do top and then bottom is going to be a little bit different. That way I don't get ink all over it. Okay, so I'm going to start with some Daffodil Delight, and we're just going to gently kind of brush this over. We'll say maybe the top half. All right, so that's pretty good. So I don't want it to be too overwhelming. Then we're going to go to Mango Melody. Same thing again. Let's start off. It doesn't really need to be a uniform color. So if we have a little bit of, I don't want to say blotching, but higher concentrations of ink in a certain area, that's okay. All right, I'm going to stop there. Then I'm going to move on to Flirty Flamingo. So I do have a different brush for, oops, that's not it, for Flirty Flamingo, because it's more of like an orangey color. Orangey pink anyway. So Flirty Flamingo. And then same thing, this is going to kind of be random for that. All right, so I am going to keep my brushes out because you never know, in case you may need to kind of go back over something again. So now we're going to move on to our blue portions. And I'm actually going to do is flip to a different side. We're going to do Balmy Blue first. Okay, so Balmy Blue. Now, one thing you have to remember, when you're going with one color into another one, you may create a third color in between, which is okay. It's just to keep in mind. If it's something that you don't want to do, the best thing for you to do is to let this dry or to mask it, and then you'll have a line where you're not going to cross. So I'm going to just try to kind of stay a little bit away from that portion. I'm really not necessarily going for a sunset feel, but I'm honestly, I'm not really sure what I'm doing for this card. So just going to try not to cross too far into the orangish yellow area. And one more time, I'm going to start on this side instead. All right, and then I'm going to swap over to my Pacific Point. Now, I'm definitely trying to concentrate the Pacific Point more into the end of the cardstock here, so not really up into the top. So I'm going to go once more just across here, because I'm not going to go up that high again. And we're going to stay more so near to the bottom. So I guess we kind of are doing some sort of a sunset, night sky, something or other. Same thing again. Once again, staying more near to the bottom. And I may end up bringing in a little bit of Night of Navy as well, now that I look at it. I'm not really sure. Okay. The one thing you really want to be careful of with this whole color variation here is that you don't want to touch the blue, because it will transfer from your fingers to the lighter color. So try to make sure if you are touching it that you're clean, or that you're using something, just say for example a little scrap piece of paper, to hold it down when you do it so you don't get fingerprints in it. So I'm just going to add just a little bit of Night of Navy at the bottom, near the very, very bottom. I'm going to do that one more time, and then I am going to go up just a little bit, but most of the ink will be blended off of it. Okay, so just like that, we're going to leave it. All right, so I did end up using Balmy Blue, Pacific Point, and Night of Navy for the finals because I didn't start like that. I have my brush that I used for the mango and the daffodil, so I'm just going to bring that back. And same thing again, I'm going to flip this so I'm not using the same one. I'm just going to go over up here one more time. I did not add any ink to it. I'm just reblending what I have. Okay, so there's that. All right, so let me move these out of the way. And we're going to pick an image to stamp. Now, the way this is, kind of depends. We could go one way. We could go with darker at the bottom, lighter at the top. I guess it really just depends on what you want to do. I'm going to go this way, and I think I want to use this larger image here just because it'll take up a lot of space. But we could also add something at the bottom or the top because we have a lot of stuff here. So you could bring in more than one thing at once if you wanted to. If you wanted to do a little bit of a kind of a bouquet. I'm just thinking this out because I haven't done this so far. I'm just really have it in my head. So I think what I'm going to do is we're going to go with this in the back here first. Then I'm going to stamp this on top of it. And then I'm going to bring this in last over here. So we're going to have to do it in steps. So we're going to go with this one first. See if that's a little bit too big for that block. Pick that up. Now, I am going to tell you one other thing. Memento is great. However, for this, I want a really, really black ink. I prefer using VersaFine, which is made by the same makers of Memento and Versamark for that matter. However, Stampin' Up! Does not carry this. I get mine on Amazon. So there is always a link on my blog where you can find this. This is great also for embossing because it is a pigment-based ink. That being said, this does take some time to dry, okay? So make sure you don't touch it. Put it on the side. I'm actually going to hit mine with my heat tool. But the fact that we're using it with this stamp set should make it really beautiful because it's really, really great at details. Okay, so there's one. Let's set this on the side. I don't know what any of these flowers are called. I know I've seen them lots in bouquets, specifically the bouquets that have dried flowers. They're really pretty, but I honestly have absolutely no idea what they are. I'll make this one kind of a little bit off to the side. And God, look at the detail on that. It is simply amazing. That's one of the best things about Versamark. It's such a detail ink. I love it. And then finally, I don't know what this one is either, but I'm going to bring this over here. All right. And do I want anything else? I don't want to overdo it. I feel like these little dudes over here need a little bit of grounding. So what I might do is, I think I'm going to re-ink this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this down here. I'm going to try to match this up just to extend this just a teeny bit. So you can see I re-inked my lines there. So I'm just doing the best I can. Not too bad. It's a teeny bit off, but it was a crooked flower. It was getting ready to break. Someone was going to cut it or something like that. What we can always do is add a little bit of something down here at the bottom so maybe you won't necessarily see it. So we have that. The other thing I feel like I want to add is, and I want to do it in black, just be kind of sticking with the theme of the card, is add my sentiment. And I think I'm going to do something. Do I want to do... You can either do a long one up here. Might be a little bit too big. Maybe this one. I think I'm going to add this, and I think I'm going to go with something that's gonna kind of counterbalance the stuff on this side. So we're going to go up here, I think. I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to do it with the VersaFine. But I haven't used this one, so I'm actually going to just make sure it looks okay. Beautiful. Okay. So I'm just kind of eyeballing where I want it. Very nice. Okay, so I did have this little piece of scrap here, so I think what I might actually do is trim this off and use it. This was just the piece I was using. I'm sitting this to the side because, like I said, it's definitely still wet. So I'm going to trim this because it doesn't need to be huge. That's 3/4. I'm just going to do a little 1/2-inch piece of black. And what did I say this was? I think it was 3 3/4. Yep. So I just want this to go across. It doesn't have to cover the whole card. Okay, so 1/2 inch by 3 3/4. And I'm going to put this, and it's going to kind of cover. Beautiful. It's going to cover that little spot up right there. Other thing we could do is we could add some twine to this if we wanted to, just to add a little bit of something. I'm going to go ahead and put this down with liquid glue, and then we'll make our decision. You could add some embellishment if you wanted to, but sometimes I find with these type of cards, it's kind of like a less is more kind of thing. So this does need a little something. So I think I'm going to do a little bit of, oh, this might work out nicely. This is that, I'm going to use this, the gingham ribbon. I have a little piece here. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to hook it around the back, and I want to use my Stampin' Seal Plus because that does really work well to hold stuff in place. And I was potentially thinking of maybe anchoring this with dimensionals, but I think I'm just going to put it as a flat card. So I'm wrapping this piece right around. I'm going to just kind of eyeball where I need to cut it. You want to make sure that you don't pull when you hook this on, or else your card is going to be bowed and you're not going to really be able to fix it. So pressing this side in, you're going to bring it around. Just bring it around without pulling it. You don't want to pull it like this. You just want it to be nice and flat and smooth. And if you felt the need, you could even put like a mini dimensional here in the, show you what I mean, in the center, just to hold your piece of ribbon down. So I'll just pick up my dimensional, kind of move this to the side. There we go. Hold on, that doesn't look correct. It's a little wonky. I don't want it to be too tight. There we go, much better. So I just kind of lifted it and readjusted it. Okay, so there's that. And finally, we have our base card. I'm trying my best to remember not to touch that black, because what's going to happen is sometime before we're finished, I'm going to end up accidentally smudging it because it does stay wet a really long time. All right, so I did this prior, so I'm just going to pull out my little silicone mat. I'm going to put a little bit of glue, and it's easier to do it that way. And then I'm going to smooth it with the fat end. Okay, there's one. And two. And all I'm going to do is put these down. Yeah. Sorry about that. Lacrosse practice is calling. And oops. Nice part about the liquid glue is that you can adjust it if you need to. Okay, so we're going to do that. Open it up, trim off my ends here. Sometimes I almost like trimming off the ends afterwards, just because I feel like occasionally I under measure things. That way you have a little bit more time to kind of finagle them. And then very carefully, I'm going to trim off this little extra piece here. I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the back. Make sure you get some where your stuff is. And press it down. Oh, I didn't put that over quite far enough. Well, you could move it. It's settled. Son of the gun. Well, it might be a little bit of an offset card because I did not line that up correctly. You know why? Because this one is bigger than my last one. It's going to have a very thin border. Oh, no. Well, may have to do another one because they are so adhered down now. Not going to be able to fix them. Wow, what a thin border that ended up being. So what you're going to want to do is put your vellum so it's all the way to the edge, because then it's going to lighten up the whole thing. Well, I might just have to make another one and do it that way and see which one I like better. If I like the fact that we have this little thin, slim line of vellum, or if we want to have a whole piece. So perfect occasion to redo one. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to end up making another card, and I will take a picture of it, and then I'll post them. And you guys can tell me which one you like better. If you like the little tiny piece there, which kind of is a waste of vellum, or the bigger piece. But it may honestly not need anything. I kind of like that little slight edge there just because it gives a little contrast between the two. But one thing again, this is almost dry now. It's probably just because it is winter. It's such a dry environment that everything is drying really quickly. But definitely if you are working with VersaFine, you absolutely need to give it a little bit of time to dry because it really does stay wet. It's great for embossing, but you can see it completely cleans off of your stamps, which is also a really nice thing as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this card today. When I get the other one posted, I'll post a picture on my blog and you'll just have to let me know which one you like better, the original or the redo. If you guys would like to purchase any of these supplies, you can head to my online store, Rachthestamper. Stampinup.net. You can also follow me on my blog, Rachthestamper.com. I always post my videos over there and my cards. And if you haven't already, make sure you follow me here on YouTube. I would love to have you as a subscriber if you aren't already. Make sure you turn on the bell for notifications so when I make a new video, you're aware. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day.